You are listening to the Codependent Millennial Podcast, Episode 5, How to Successfully Set and Achieve Goals in Quarantine. This episode is a part of my series on living your best codependency-free life in quarantine. To sign up for these trainings on living your best codependency-free life in quarantine and to receive the corresponding worksheets and written guidance, just visit codependentmillennial.com/codependency-free quarantine to sign up. Let's get started. Hi, I'm Sophie from Codependent Millennial, and I want to welcome you back to how to live your best codependency-free life in quarantine. So today I want to talk to you all about how to set and achieve a goal in quarantine. There are several steps I'm going to take you through, and we're going to start with the first one, obviously choosing a goal. I want you to choose a goal that means something to you. You need to have a powerful why behind your goal. It has to matter to you. If it doesn't, discipline, motivation, nothing's going to be enough to get you to the finish line unless you can find a way to really connect deeply to your goal. Why is this important to you? Why is this something you're focusing on? Why have you chosen this goal to accomplish during this time? I also want to stress that it's very important to constrain. So I recommend that you start with one goal. Don't, say, okay, I'm going to do 30 minutes of exercise per day and I'm going to write the first chapter of my book in the next week, and I'm going to cook a different meal from Julia Child's cookbook every evening for dinner, and I'm going to never yell at my kids. Let's start with one goal, shall we? So pick one goal that just means a lot to you. You can add on more as you go, of course, and you can always finish one goal and start another, but for now, when we're learning how to really hone the skill of setting and achieving a goal, just pick one. Now, step 2 is to look at the thoughts you have around this goal. What are you thinking about this goal right now? And how are those thoughts making you feel? Are you thinking thoughts that make you feel discouraged because you don't actually believe that it's possible for you to achieve this goal? If so, start to cultivate new thoughts that make you motivated rather than discouraged. And this isn't delusional, this isn't you lying to yourself. The thoughts you have right now that are causing discouragement in you are not pure truth. They're not factual. They're just thoughts that perhaps you're practiced at thinking. They're habitual thoughts. They were thoughts that you picked up along the way and haven't really decided to reprogram because maybe you didn't know that that was possible. So now what I want you to do in order to achieve this goal is to think thoughts that convince you that this is within reach for you. Think thoughts that empower you, motivate you, create that infinite well of motivation and drive that makes it a delight to pursue this goal because you believe fully that it is possible for you to achieve it. Think about what you will be thinking about this goal and about yourself once you've already achieved it. Go to that future place. Who will you be? What will you be thinking, both about the goal and about yourself in relation to that goal once it is done, once it's accomplished? Thoughts like, oh, that wasn't as hard as I thought. Oh, wow, I really was capable of that. That was great. I learned so much about myself. Now I know that I can do anything. Wow, I have so much more potential than I ever thought possible. All of these thoughts that you think you'll think about yourself when you have achieved the goal, think of them about yourself now. There's no downside to doing that. And in fact, thinking those thoughts now will ensure that you have the motivation, that you have the belief in yourself in order to take all the steps necessary to accomplish that goal. What I'm saying is you have to go to the place where the goal is already accomplished in order to actually accomplish the goal. Go to that place mentally. Where are you at mentally? What are you thinking? Think those thoughts now. So the transition from discouraging thoughts to empowering thoughts looks a little something like this. Instead of thinking, this is impossible for me, this is too difficult, I don't enjoy doing this, you can think thoughts like the following. It is possible for me to blank. I am dedicating some time each day to blank. Even if I don't feel like it in the moment, I will blank because I promised myself I would. I know that blank will benefit me in so many ways, in this way, in this way, in this way. I know that I will be so proud when I blank. So you can start to think these thoughts that will help you cultivate this feeling of motivation and belief in yourself, even if you're not there yet. You're working your way up, and that's what matters. Step number 3, put it on your calendar. I know you don't want to. I don't care. Okay? You have to put it on your calendar. If you try and tell me that you're just not someone who calendars, that's just not you, you don't want to, fine. Then just 1 hour a day. If there are thoughts in your head rebelling against scheduling just 1 hour a day to dedicate to this goal, either this isn't a goal that you actually care that much about, either you haven't done the work around getting yourself excited about that goal, or you are choosing to refuse the discomfort of calendaring 1 hour a day instead of choosing the discomfort of calendaring 1 hour a day and achieving that goal. And that's your choice. But just like step number 1 said, you have to choose. You have to choose a goal, and you have to choose commitment to that goal. So calendar at least 1 hour a day to put work in towards this goal. Something that is also entailed in this step number 3 is to list out all of the steps that are needed in order to accomplish the goal. So let's say your goal is to, write the first chapter of a book. What will you have to do in order to accomplish this goal at the end of 7 days? You'll have to come up with an idea. You'll have to outline the first chapter. You'll have to figure out the goal of the first chapter, what you want to accomplish in that first chapter. How are you going to do it? So outline, and then, of course, you'll have to sit down at typewriter. Wow. You'll have to sit down at your computer for maybe an hour a day. And if you've sat down at the computer for 1 hour a day for 7 days straight, it's likely that you're going to have a chapter at the end of it. But if you see on your calendar that it says 1 hour of writing time and you just decide not to, you're probably not going to have the chapter of the book written at the end of the week. And that won't be because it just didn't happen to you. That won't be because that chapter just didn't get written. It's because you chose not to write it. So own that choice. Own your decisions, own your actions, own your power over all of it. This is in your hands. It is entirely possible for you to achieve this goal in a week, and it is entirely within your control to choose to do so. Isn't that amazing? That's the most powerful thought I can offer you. Step number 4 is all about achieving this goal without cruelty towards yourself. How can you set and achieve this goal and be kind and loving and gentle with yourself throughout the whole process? And when I say kind and gentle and loving, I don't mean endlessly watching Netflix. I don't mean eating whatever you want when you feel distracted from your work. I mean being kind and gentle and loving with yourself and saying, hey, I know this is going to benefit us so much in the future when we accomplish this. We're going to sit down and do it, even if we don't want to. It's that structured, strong, stern kind of love that has boundaries instead of this concept of love that isn't really love, that just says do whatever you want whenever you feel like it, no matter the consequences. Recognizing that the consequence of you sitting down to do something that you promised you would do even if you don't want to is a goal accomplished, and the consequence of just sort of like doing whatever you feel like and watching Netflix and eating donuts all day, the consequence of that is a goal that went abandoned, and you abandon yourself in that as well. So how can you be loving to yourself in this whole process? That includes being kind and understanding and gentle with yourself when you decide not to show up on your calendar. If there comes a time when you've scheduled time to work on your goal and you choose a different path, ask yourself why instead of berating yourself for it, because the criticism and the self-hatred will just drive a wedge between you and yourself. It will block any kind of learning, block any kind of vulnerability or intimacy that you can have with yourself. But when you open up to yourself and you say, hey, let's look at why this didn't happen. Let's look at why we chose to do Netflix instead. Then you will feel intimate and safe enough with yourself to say, well, I was really scared. I felt inadequate in that moment. I didn't think I could do it. I didn't really think it was worth it. I fell into a moment of disbelief in myself, and that made me not really want to show up anymore, so I didn't. Once you listen to what those sentences are telling you, you're going to be able to diagnose what you need in order to get back on track. So if it's disbelief, you need to work some more on those latter thoughts of believing in your capacity to achieve this goal. If it is, just that you didn't feel like it because you were uncomfortable or scared, the diagnosis for that, the remedy for that is to just, adopt a more parental voice with yourself and say, I totally hear that you don't want to do it right now. We decided that we were going to do it. We care about this goal a lot. We're just going to do it. It doesn't matter if we want to or not. This will serve you a lot because when you sit down to do the tasks that you've scheduled and calendared, your brain is not going to want to. You're going to want to go do something that's easy and fun and doesn't take a lot of vulnerability or brain power. So just plan on that. Step number 5 is recentering your sense of accomplishment, permission, approval, appreciation back inside yourself, not externally in other people or even in the accomplishment of the goal. If the only reason why you want to accomplish this goal is because you want to feel good about yourself, understand that you can feel those good feelings about yourself regardless of whether you achieve the goal or not. Don't hang your love on this condition of whether or not you accomplish this goal. Your love for yourself can be unconditional. Your love for yourself should be unconditional. You should be unconditionally loving of yourself and still respect yourself enough to have goals and to have the motivation and drive to go after them. I promise you, you will not become complacent or lazy or unmotivated if you give yourself self-love ahead of time, before ever accomplishing this goal that you've set out to do. Quite the opposite. You won't become complacent and lazy and entitled and greedy if you give yourself the love that you're looking for before you ever accomplish the goal. You'll just suffer less during the accomplishment of that goal. You'll just suffer less during the pursuit of whatever goal you have. So now I want to address a couple of questions I got from people on Instagram. You can always DM me a question at Codependent Millennial or email me at sophie@codependentmillennial.com. So these questions were about overwhelm and about asking mentors for help. The first question said, I don't know what I don't know when it comes to long-term goals. Help. So what I have to say to this is that long-term goals are just a series of smaller goals and therefore a series of smaller decisions. And the decision that you're likely in right now is overwhelm. You are deciding to be overwhelmed instead of deciding to take the next right step. So what if you told yourself, I know the next right step to be taking here. I know the next right step to do. What would be available to you then? What would you do then? If you knew the next right step, what would you do? Answer that and move forward. The next question was about mentors. She asked, what is appropriate to expect when asking a mentor for advice or help? So what I have to say to this is any mentor that you're seeking out for advice or help has had and still does have just as many questions as you. They just choose to believe that they have the answer or are willing to go out and get it. You're free to ask a mentor anything, but it comes down to taking action. That is something that no mentor can ever do for you. You could theoretically spend, and probably have spent, honestly, years of asking and researching and wondering and questioning and data gathering, but that will get you nowhere. It feels productive. You think it's productive, it's not. If you have a goal, any goal, you have to start taking steps towards it, not steps like Googling things. You have to actually take steps. You have to engage in the scientific process. You have a hypothesis, you experiment, you learn, you reassess. So right now, you're probably telling yourself a lie like, I don't really know where to start, or I don't know enough to get started. This is a lie, I promise you. What if you did know? Just pretend for a moment that you knew what to do, that you knew the first step to take. Pretend that you did, and then take that step. You can also rely on the wisdom of your future self here. Again, go in your mind to the place in the future when this goal is already accomplished. You're already the person you're trying to be. You've already done the thing you want to do. What does that person tell you to do next? What does your future self advise you to do next? Probably not watch another YouTube video. Probably not ask another person for their opinion. If you listen closely, your future self is telling you to take some type of actual action that doesn't involve questions, doesn't involve data gathering. It's an action. That is the difference between the you in the future who's accomplished the goal and the you in the future in 5 years who's still Googling. Okay, just go out and start doing. So to summarize, the steps that you need to take in order to set and accomplish a small goal in quarantine is, number 1, decide on the goal and have it be meaningful. Decide on the goal, make it be a goal that you have a compelling why behind, and decide that you are going to do what it takes to accomplish that goal. Step number 2, decide to do it and schedule out all the steps necessary to do it. So list out all of those steps, list out every step of the process, put it on your calendar. Step number 3, decide to show up even when you don't want to. You can guarantee that you won't want to. Just plan on that and move forward anyways. Step number 4, be loving towards yourself the whole time. Love yourself ahead of the accomplishment of the goal. Give yourself the praise and the appreciation that you think you're only going to reserve for you after you've accomplished the goal. Give it to yourself now. Reduce your suffering now. And step number 5, ask your future self for advice and think empowering thoughts. So ask your future self, what is the next right step here? Where should I be going next? What should I be doing next? Again, it's probably not watching another YouTube video. It's probably taking actual real steps towards this goal. So I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions at all, again, you can email me at sophie@codependentmillennial.com. You can also request to join me live on a free coaching call. I do those every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern on Instagram Live, and I would love to have you as a guest on there. Just email me that you'd like to be coached live in front of my Instagram audience. So I'll see you tomorrow for the next installment of How to Live Your Best Life in Quarantine. And until then, I hope you have a wonderful evening. Bye. And that's a wrap. Thank you so much for tuning in. You can email me anytime at sophie@codependentmillennial.com. That's SOPHIE@codependentmillennial.com with any questions you have or to schedule a free one-on-one session with me. If you are someone who's struggling right now setting and achieving goals, I would highly recommend this session. It is probably the best 30 minutes you will spend this week. There is so much clarity available to you when you can just step outside of your mind, observe your thoughts, observe the results they're creating in your life, and make a plan to move forward. So I hope you take me up on that offer. And until then, I hope you have an amazing day. Tomorrow, we're diving into the next lesson, which is all about how to handle uncertainty, both in and out of quarantine. So I'll talk to you then. If you liked what you heard in this episode, join me over on Instagram at Codependent Millennial for more tips on how to move beyond codependency and build a life you truly love.